everybody. I was just looking around the interwebs and I was noticing how many people were warning of false teachers. And it's something that you hear from a specific group. I wanted to talk about false teachers and what does that mean when we say someone's a false teacher? And prior to getting to that, I think it's important that we begin to look at who says there are false teachers out there. These are people almost always that are from Protestantism, which is an offshoot of an offshoot of an offshoot of the original Christianity. They will say that people are false teachers who have an Eastern sense about them, an Eastern kind of spirituality about them, probably never realizing that Jesus and the disciples, all the disciples, were from Southwest Asia. And we like to say Middle East, but they're really from Southwest Asia. And it's a good thing to remember about Southwest Asia that there is more of an Eastern mindset, more of an Eastern way of thinking about the world, which is to say, and many Eastern Christians think this way too, is that everything is spiritual. In the West, in Protestantism, especially in America, where the country was founded because of the Enlightenment influences, and you have this idea about apologetics and reasoning and making sure we give a great case, and there's a lot of influence of modernity. And so these people are quite willing to say, this is a false teacher, this is a false teacher, because they don't match up with what I'm familiar with, comfortable with, and believe to be true. These people are usually very divorced from the history of Christianity and the early church. They are ignorant of history and how much the worldview of modernity has affected them. And so they can lay claims and charges and false accusations about who's a false teacher, who isn't, who to be careful for. And then there's all these trigger words that you're going to find. Ooh, mystery, ooh, contemplative, let's freak out. There's just this really strange way of seeing the world from an extremely narrow perspective of history, extremely small amount of time, as if Christianity was invented 500 years ago with the Protestant Reformation. And yet some of these people will still say, well, this is biblical. Well, if it was biblical, if those ideas were biblical, we wouldn't have this other aspect to Protestantism that talks about the divide between the head and the heart. You've ever heard of that 18-inch gap? Or you'll hear a dichotomy about the physical and then the spiritual, or the body and the spiritual. You'll hear all these false dichotomies because that's a Western way of thinking. Those are not actual dichotomies. We are created as whole beings. And in an Eastern frame of mind, and that is to say the frame of mind Jesus had and Jewish people had, that every single thing is spiritual. There is nothing outside of that. What is the physical is also the spiritual. And so there's no way to divide it. And I'd just like to say, for those people out there who have a problem with this, look up some of the oldest writings from Christians, from the early Christians, and look how Eastern they actually are. And not through your lens and superimposing it back on to another time, but from where they come from and what they're actually saying. I think it's really important that we do embrace mystery, the kind of mystery that Jesus was all about, the kind of mystery of the Trinity, and the mystery of the incarnated God. I think that it's time to look at the people who are calling out false teachers and realize we have a lot of false accusers. That's it for now.